I was going to ask you a little bit outside of this world with your own recording studio. And for you indie rockers out there, this is the dude who produced the Spinto Band. And that's not something I would kind of associate with how I think of the Nashville music scene in my mind's eye, right? Like there's in Nashville, I think in a lot of people's imagination, rightfully claims the titles like the Mecca of country. And but there's so many different types of music going on in the Nashville scene that you're seeing firsthand. How would you describe the kind of musical vibe that's going on there amongst kind of developing upcoming bands?
I mean, the thing that people keep talking about in Nashville that I hear so much is just talking about musicianship. There's a real high level of musicians, and it's just a lot of good music. A lot of people who really appreciate songwriting and people who really appreciate making records and playing their instruments really well. So all the different things that come out of that. I mean, there's a whole underground scene, there's a whole alternative kind of scene, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot more than country out of Nashville. I would say that, there's a hip-hop scene too, I mean, Count Bass D is out of Nashville, out of Murfreesboro. There's Murfreesboro is a town just south of Nashville too. It's still part of the whole thing, And, one of my best friends when I was in Murfreesboro is a guy named Matt Mahaffey, and he's got a band called Self. And it's just, it was those guys.
Also, he makes all those records all by himself, and.
Well, actually, no, it's not. He does, and he doesn't, But it's just like they were a good example of a band that was a cross between a rock band and using samples and loops and everything else. He's like Beck, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of, there's just a lot more than country music coming out of Nashville. Yeah. But that being said, there's some great country music coming out of Nashville.
Yeah, best in the world, right?
Anyway.
Right. Do you think that the appreciation for songwriting in other genres of music here in Nashville, do you think that kind of has some foundation in what I have always thought was country music's strongest virtue? Is that the songwriting is so fantastic. And even if you're not a country music fan, like I defy you to listen to like a great country music song and not be moved by a great story, because there's a great storytelling tradition, I think, that comes out of that. Do you think that has influence in the other genres of music that you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the influence in songwriting creates a lot of other music and other bands that really appreciate the craft of putting something together well. Mm-hmm. Speaking of storytelling, John Prine was in here today, and he
he's like one of the greatest storytelling songwriters of all time. Yeah,
it was just like hearing a story, and just one long story, and it was great. So I think that the thing that's nice about Nashville is when I leave my house, I can go 5 blocks over to the local bar, and I'm going to run into a bunch of people I know, and it's all musicians and producers and people with studios, people from labels and stuff like that. And so there's kind of a community to it all, and you go. The knowledge rubs off onto other people, and it's like there's an exchange of knowledge with all those people. Mm-hmm.
I found it's a super friendly community too. People are so like respectful and like sharing. I mean, not to say that our wonderful colleagues in New York and LA are not, but it's a different vibe. It's like kind of a more familial, community friendly kind of thing as opposed to like cutthroat competition sort of thing.
I mean, quite honestly, I run an independent recording studio, and I know lots of other people that do the same thing, and we literally hand work back and forth between studios. We're like helping each other out. Yeah. It's not at all a competition, or a cutthroat thing at all. We talk about putting together like groups of people just getting together and doing studio crawls, that kind of stuff.
How much in that community? There's a common language of musicianship and of engineering and professionalism that you guys all share. How universal do you think is the knowledge and the skill base of working in a Pro Tools environment? How does that fit into the kind of standards that you guys have set here as far as your entire world of music?
You mean just sort of ask the question again.
Sorry, that was like a totally shameless plug. That was a shameless segue. All right. Okay, so there is a common language that you guys all share. There's a common sense of community, common sense of professionalism that you guys all work in. And what I'm driving at here is that there's a commonality between recording professionals using a standard, which is Pro Tools.
Oh, absolutely.
How important is it for somebody who's working in this environment to be knowledgeable and skilled working in a kind of Pro Tools world?
I think it's really important, actually. I think there's no doubt about it. I think Pro Tools is the standard for studios. I know that there are other applications out there that everybody uses. You know, there's the obvious ones, but the one that I consistently see in every studio I go to is Pro Tools. And if you use something else, then you're definitely you're making it difficult for most people to walk in and use your studio. And if you're going to record in something else, you're also making it more difficult to take it to another studio and continue working on it. You know, and when I have somebody come work with me in my studio, I expect them to know how to work Pro Tools. You know, I've got you know, if I have a new intern come in, it's like first thing I want to see is whether he knows his way around Pro Tools.
And you don't think of that as a negative thing, do you? You don't feel like we're like got the hammer lock and like forcing you have to use Pro Tools.
No, I think it built itself that way because that's what people wanted to use.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, I mean, it's like I'm not inside DigiDesign or Avid or knowing what's going on or anything, but I've always had the impression that we're the ones who are telling you guys what to do. So, you know, basically.
That warms my heart. You are. I mean, like, we sit around wringing our hands over this. You know, I mean, like, we do try to listen, and like, we want to, because it's a standard, especially. We don't want to rest on our laurels and like just kind of force everyone into one platform. We want to give people the best thing that they possibly can have, so they don't have to think about the Pro Tools. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be thinking about Pro Tools when you're in here with John Prine or Tori Amos. You want to be thinking about, you know, making the artist comfortable to get an amazing performance. It's like a once in a lifetime thing, which, I mean, it's like once in a lifetime in my mind's eye, but really it's like 600 times in a lifetime for you so far.
Right. Well, that's one of the things that I do like about Pro Tools is that the way it operates when I'm working with it, I don't even have to think about what I'm doing. It's an automatic thing. It's like picking up a guitar and playing some chords, you know, and just knowing where your fingers go. I know exactly what I'm going to do without having to worry about it. And if I can count on it working, you know, if everything's happening, it's like I know that part's covered. And I can't tell you the millions of times that I have been able to not worry about some little problem or something, you know, knowing that I can make it work later, you know. Strange, well, I mean, you know, not that strange really, but, you know, anything from something just being out of place, knowing that I can put it in place musically in a song, you know, to stuff like tracking and having some crazy pop or a click or something, some accident that would have potentially destroyed a keeper take, you know, a brilliant take by a band, and I can just go in there and fix it up and clean it up, you know, make it disappear.
That's an amazing thing.
It is.
It's a brave new world.
It is, and I mean, quite honestly, from my perspective, you guys invented something that is the way to record many years ago. And it's just, you know, it's got to be a challenge to even keep trying to improve on it because, you know, you figured it out. You know, you figured it out years ago for me.
Well, we'll keep trying. Thank you so much for your time, and I won't keep you from all the amazing more sessions that you guys. I can't even believe you took a minute to do this in between all those sessions. So check it out. Thank you for watching. Thanks for having us in your studio, and we'll be back with more from Bonnaroo 2010.